Environmental issues have several dimensions.
The important thing is that the industry wants skills and the competencies.
That is, how can we build ethical, moral citizens?
Multidisciplinary knowledge required in solving complex problems.
Hello, Chetan and I, Rishikesh. We both have been part of the National Education Policy 2020 in many different ways. Chetan, the policy implementation across the country is well underway.
Yes, very much indeed. And in fact, in the last 2 years, we have seen different types of implementation process in terms of awareness program, in terms of government's decision making with regard to various reports.
Right.
So I think, what do you think about all this process that is underway in the last 2 years especially?
I think, well, you and I both have done equal number of webinars. It's just that you've done in higher education and most of my webinars have been in school, but we've also interchanged because that's how really the policy is. I mean, policy is a completely intertwined one and you can't really look at it separately from the early years to the higher education.
But this awareness program, we often do communicate that this NEP kind of document envisages education as a continuum.
Right.
Now, in my webinars, many times I have seen, at least when I was a listener as well as when I am as a resource person, the multidisciplinarity concept. I think that is one good example of this education as a continuum.
Right.
As you know, in the document, NEP document, there is a mention of multidisciplinarity in during grade 8th itself.
Right.
Like from grade 8th, if they get into that habit of understanding what is multidisciplinarity, then when they come to undergraduation and thereon, their understanding of multidisciplinarity is much deeper.
True.
And but do you see that happening in a sense?
See, I think on that, there is conceptual clarity required.
Yes.
And I see that at the higher education level as well, but even at the school education level, what is multidisciplinarity?
Yes.
And to add to that, in the policy, we have the other term, interdisciplinary.
Yes.
We have also the cross-disciplinary, which otherwise also known as trans.
But most often the multidisciplinarity is given a lot of attention.
Right.
The other two are also kind of not discussed much. I think it's important that we need to highlight that.
That's true. And I think so that conceptual clarity is something very crucial. Along with multidisciplinarity, what other themes do you think have this issue of the need for clarity?
Yeah, I think, for example, evaluation assessment and the issues associated with pedagogy and curriculum. Right. And at the same time, the notion of holistic education, and institutional reforms in terms of types of institution that NEP talks about. There are many such major issues or concerns that have been coming through, which definitely need conceptual clarity. But for evaluation assessment, for example, do you see in school education system and the kind of webinars you had, are they clear? Because that's very important, that's foundational.
Yeah, no, very true. So another thing that is coming across, it's similar themes both in school and higher education. You spoke of multidisciplinarity, again conceptual clarity required. Assessment related aspects, there is a lot of clarity required. In fact, there are many educationists at the school level asking about 360-degree assessment, right? Holistic report cards, what are these things? So very clearly I think we have to do something about providing this conceptual clarity. Any ideas?
I think the best thing I could think of is to have the architects of the national education policy themselves, who have already taken the ownership of the recommendations that they were part of through various sources and through various discussions and deliberations they have brought in. For example, we can have Dr. K. Kasturirangan, the architect behind this whole NEP's recommendations, the former chairman of the drafting committee, to maybe come in and share his views or insights on having sort of a conceptual clarity on various themes like multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinary and cross-disciplinary, as you mentioned.
Right. That
How
would
do you
be
think
wonderful.
about it?
That would be wonderful. But along with that, I would think that we should also bring some people who have practiced these. See, for we all know that various provisions in the NEP are those which have been tried out,
Yes,
even
yes.
in our own country.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so if we can think of also people who have engaged themselves.
That's true, like you, we could have some practitioners
Right.
on the ground who have engaged with those reforms that
True.
the NEP talks about.
Yeah.
And as I must also acknowledge that it is not completely out of box, the recommendation of NEP, right?
Exactly.
So there are examples. I think who else we could think of for as a practitioner who could share both the perspectives of higher education institution as well as the government's current role, especially in Karnataka.
See, one name that right away is Professor Gopal Krishna Joshi. He's currently the Executive
Yes.
Director at Karnataka
Yes,
State Higher Education
yes.
Council.
Yes.
But you know, in his previous avatar,
Yes.
as the Dean of
Yes.
Curriculum Innovation in
Yes,
his
yes,
technological university.
Yes.
He's done some fabulous
Yes,
work.
especially his work on the problem-based learning,
Right.
that he has been in the forefront in
Yes.
terms of bringing those reforms, which
Yes.
is also largely on which the NEP also anchors
Right.
in the assessment and evaluation part, the delivery of curriculum and design part.
True.
I think, yeah, that would be great.
Right.
In addition to him, who else we could also call upon for bringing in those perspectives
I think,
in terms of roles?
yeah, I think that's the journey that we will have to
Yes,
get on.
yes.
And we invite all of you to this journey with us, wherein we are going to try and get to speak to the architects of NEP, as well as try and get to you people who have been in the forefront of implementing many of these provisions that we read in the NEP. Shall we? Hope you would join us.